Hi, I'm Meg. Welcome to Plant Fit Meg. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I hope you'll take a look around at some other videos while you're here. I make videos about healthy weight loss, simple plant-based recipes, and living a healthy lifestyle. I've lost 80 pounds and completely regained my health on a plant-based diet, so I like to share how I did that. In today's video, I wanted to discuss 6 things I have learned in 6 years as a vegan. I'm celebrating my 6th Veganiversary, my 6th year of being a plant-based eater and of being a vegan. And I thought it'd be fun to look back at the past 6 years and discuss things that I've learned along the way and ways my perspectives have changed and my opinions have changed along the way. So if you like this video, remember to like it and subscribe to the channel below if you haven't already. With that, let's jump right in. So number 1 is being vegan is not as weird or as complicated as I thought it would be. So when I first went vegan, I didn't know anyone else who was vegan. I made the decision and jumped right in, did it overnight, and I thought it would be really weird and complicated to try to figure out what I was going to eat and to figure out how I was going to start paying attention to what I was purchasing in terms of not buying leather and not buying things that were tested on animals and things like this. And just dealing with social situations in general, I thought would be really complex and really difficult. And I found over the years that in the beginning, yes, there is a learning curve, but it gets easier really quickly, surprisingly quickly. And with social interactions, yes, sometimes there can be some awkwardness, and my little family is vegan. My husband Chris and my son Riordan were all vegan, and there can be some sort of awkward moments with my son and with discussing veganism with other people, but for the most part it's been much easier than I thought it would be and not as stressful as I thought it would be. And so that's really lovely that it hasn't been as difficult or as weird to do as I thought it would be. Number 2 is that there are so many ways to eat a plant-based diet and so many ways to be vegan. There are people across all walks of life who go towards a plant-based diet or go vegan. And when I first went vegan, I guess I sort of thought of it more as a black and white situation. There were the whole food plant-based eaters who maybe were vegan or maybe were not. And then there were the junk food vegans who didn't care about their health and they just cared about the animals, and that was that. And I was somewhere in the middle because I was both vegan and a whole food plant-based eater. And I got stuck in that sort of black and white mindset for a long time, and I sort of put myself in those boxes along the way. I also used to think of vegans in terms of these stereotypes that you see about vegans. So on one side, either they're really hippy-dippy, airy-fairy, go with the flow, like barefoot, boho dresses kind of style, versus the animal advocates who are really loud and in your face and really extreme. And obviously both of those types of people exist, but there are so many other different types of vegans who have completely different experiences and ways of discussing veganism and discussing eating a plant-based diet or eating a whole food plant-based diet if they so choose. And so it was interesting to me that I had those sort of 2 notions in my head when I first went vegan. There's no right or wrong way to be vegan and to do it. If you're living a vegan lifestyle, then you're doing veganism right, in my opinion. That being said, I did regain my health on a whole food plant-based diet, so that's what I recommend and that's what I continue to follow. But I recognize that some vegans feel great eating more processed foods, and they're free to obviously choose whatever foods they want to choose. This sort of leads me into my next point, in that when I first went vegan and in that first year or so, I just thought, oh, everyone should go vegan. This is amazing. And while I do still agree with that to some degree, and obviously having more people go vegan is amazing, and I'm always up for that and happy about that, at the same time, I have a bit more of a nuanced approach, I guess, now, of meeting people where they're at and encouraging people to eat more plants. If they're interested in a plant-based diet, awesome. And any step in the direction of eating more plants is a win to me. And so some vegans might not be too happy with that sentiment, but for me, it's about minimizing harm. And so I think if more people are reducing their intake of animal products, then there's a great benefit to that. There's a big impact there. Some people just aren't comfortable or don't want to go all the way vegan, and maybe at some point down the road they'll change their mind and they will come around. I was one of those people who, before I went vegan, it's not something I ever would have considered. It's not something that I had any exposure to. It's not something that I was comfortable with or familiar with or had much of an interest in. And so it just goes to show that anyone can make the change, and you know, some people will, some people won't, but any movement in the direction to eating more plants is great for the person's health, for animals, and for the environment. I had no idea 6 years ago that plant-based diets, plant-forward diets, and veganism would grow and explode in the way that they have. And when I first went vegan, as I mentioned previously, I didn't know any other vegans. And there were some vegan products available, you know, it wasn't that long ago. There were quite a few, you know, non-dairy milks and, you know, processed food items available, but now it's just grown so much. And it's incredible to see all the different food items, different products, different types of leathers made out of all sorts of different materials, all the clothing and different items that come out all the time, and all the new businesses that are coming out, vegan businesses. And so it's really, really exciting to see how much veganism has grown in the last 6 years, and it'll be really cool to see how it continues to grow in 2022 and beyond. Number 5 is that I had no idea that my husband Chris would come around and go vegan with me when I first made the decision to go vegan. I made the decision on my own, and we agreed that feeding our son a plant-based diet would be the healthiest way to go. But my husband Chris wasn't on board initially, and so it was a really big surprise when just a few months in, maybe 4 to 6 months in, he decided to make the switch as well and was feeling better and was really excited about living a vegan lifestyle. And I also didn't know that I would meet other people who were vegan or who ate a whole food plant-based diet. When I first made this switch, I felt quite alone in it, and there were communities online and groups online, but there was no one in my real life that I could connect with about it. So I still am involved in a lot of online communities and online groups, and obviously the Plant Fit Meg community is growing, which is amazing, and we have a lovely community here, which is awesome. But I also have vegan friends in real life, and Chris and I co-lead our local whole food plant-based group, and we have friends in there who are either eating a plant-forward diet or are eating a whole food plant-based diet. And so it's really cool to connect with people in different ways, whether it be in person or online, and knowing that I'm not alone in being vegan, I'm not alone in eating a whole food plant-based diet, and there are whole communities and ways to connect. And I absolutely love that. So if you don't have someone in your family or a friend who is vegan and you've made the decision to do it, seek out online communities, find support. Chris and I have a whole video about finding support as a vegan or whole food plant-based eater, so I will link that up here to take a look at if you're interested. But it's been awesome to meet other vegans, other vegan families, other whole food plant-based eaters in my community. Last but not least, The sixth thing that I have learned in my 6 years as a vegan is that veganism is really, at the end of the day, about compassion. And there can be a lot of arguments among vegans or among plant-based eaters about what the best thing to do is, whether it is an argument about what to eat for your health or what items are acceptable to purchase or use. For example, using a leather bag that you've had for years. As a vegan, some vegans will say that that's fine and acceptable. Others will be really uncomfortable with it. And there's a lot of gray area and a lot of differing opinions, even within the vegan community or within the plant-based community. And so I think leading with compassion and meeting people where they're at and trying to understand where they're coming from if they have a different viewpoint from you is really helpful. The way that you do things is not necessarily the way that the rest of the group does it. And even among, plant-based doctors within the whole food plant-based community, there are certain disagreements here and there. I would argue minor disagreements, minor differences. But there are those differences, and people will follow who they trust and who they think has the science-based information, or who they are able to follow and something that works for them specifically. So leading with compassion, knowing that everyone is on their own journey, and the way that you are a vegan and show up in the world, or the way that you are whole food plant-based and show up in the world, is not necessarily the same way as the next person. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you've been vegan for a while, or if you've been eating a whole food plant-based diet for a while, let me know what you've learned. Let me know what is something that you've learned along the way that you'd like to share. I'd love to hear it, and I'm sure that everyone else would love to hear it as well. I love reading your comments and responding to them. I still try to respond to every comment, so feel free to ask any questions below. Remember to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel below if you haven't already. Hit the little notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video, if you'd like to. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video and for watching it through to the end. You're an amazing human and I love you. Thank you so much for watching the channel and supporting the channel. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!